What's up, everybody? It's Dan, Boneyard, coming at you from the shop. It is raining outside. You probably hear that in the background. Sorry, there's nothing I can do about it. It's just how it is these days. So, yeah, appreciate you for following along, listening, joining in. Still doing the video podcasts. So if you are listening to this, you can also see them on YouTube. And if you are watching these, you can also listen on any platform where podcasts are played. So, yeah, just going through messages and stuff from other episodes, and I appreciate everybody chiming in and letting me know what's up. You know, it is nice to get feedback. Sometimes, you know, there's some trolls on the internet, and you just gotta take them for what they are. But anyway, I appreciate you guys very much. Thank you. And you know, if you want to donate, we have a Patreon page, the Boneyard podcast. You can donate there, and you can also, you know, subscribe to Instagram. I have a subscription service there where you get some other features and things like that on Instagram. So you know, it's Boneyard pretty much on any platform. So that out of the way, gonna jump right in to all about Travelalls. Travelalls are one of my favorites, you know, and not to be confused with Travelers, which are the 76 to 80 long wheelbase Scout 2s. Those are Travelers. We are talking about Travelalls, the 40s, late 30s to 1975 Travelall. They went through many iterations. They weren't even called Travelalls until I think 53 was the start of that name. At least in my experience, I've only seen the emblems, the Travelall emblems on any of that 53, the older stuff, the L series stuff, you know, the 50 to 52. I don't recall ever seeing a Travelall emblem. So that's where it, you know, gets kind of lost. And then you know, generally the Travelalls are regarded as the ones with all the windows. You know, they either had a clamshell style rear hatch and tailgate, or what's referred to as the barn doors, where they open sideways like a barn door. Somebody was creative on that one. And so the early ones, the 40s, if you look back at the K and KB, you know, panels, because like I said, I don't think they were called Travelalls yet. Any ones that you see with windows and whatnot, a lot of times were done after the fact by coach builders, chassis builders, that kind of thing. And the literature for international back in the 40s is harder to get. My MT books, my parts books, don't show much in the way of interior stuff like that for Travelall. So it's hard to know if they were actually outfitted from international with the side windows and the seats and all that. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I do know that into the 50s they did. Late L's had, you know, the side window and seat or version, and then of course the R's, the 53 to 55s, that had the Travelall emblem. They had the 3 rows of seats, or 2 rows depending, the side windows, and then that's where the term panel came out, which I believe is, you know, when you're talking about a Travelall with no seats and no side glass. They were panels or deliveries, sometimes they were called. I think Chevys call them expresses or something, and I've had some people message me who don't know international and were looking for international express parts, and it took some deciphering to figure out what they were actually looking for, because yeah, it didn't make sense at first. But so Travelalls, and they came in a couple versions. There was the standard, pretty much everything up until 54 was two-wheel drive. Two-wheel drive half-ton or two-wheel drive three-quarter ton, 6 cylinders, either 3 on the column or 4-speed on the floor. Both were available, various load capacities. Pretty much the same instrument layout, same dash and front half of the truck as the trucks did, the pickups did. So not a lot of difference. And then in 53, 54, when International introduced the factory four-wheel drive in the 140s and bigger, you saw some 1 ton, or I guess 1.25 ton four-wheel drive Travelalls come on the scene. Those were primarily mining, oil exploration, logging, timber cruisers, that kind of stuff. They didn't make a lot of them. There's very few of them out there. There's the world famous Woody one that pops up in a lot of places. It's black with the wood doors. That is a 140 chassis, I believe. It's 4-wheel drive and 6-cylinder. So that one's kind of the famous one. And like I said, the front of the Travelalls were the same as the pickups, same layout, emblem layout, grill, hood, all that stuff is the same. So it's really just from the back of the doors back is the difference. So then you get into 56, the S model Travelalls. Now you're seeing the four-wheel drive, because they were in the 3/4 tons then. So you started seeing a lot more four-wheel drive versions of the Travelalls, and again, they were making their way into logging camps and mining outfits and exploration. A lot of Alaskan travelers. You see a lot of four-wheel drive Travelalls in Alaska. And so, and they really kind of had the same basic layout. They were 2-door. The passenger seat folded so people could climb into the back. They had the clamshell or barn door style. The only real updates were different motors. The overdrive transmission was a thing. If you had the 3-speed on the column, then you had that push button overdrive that was available. And that was only in the half tons. I never saw that in a 3/4 ton. So it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It's just I've seen a lot of these things, and the 3/4 tons didn't have the overdrive from what I saw. I don't know if it had to do with the transfer case or what, but anyway. Because I say that because I have a 56 4-wheel drive pickup, and it's a 3 on the tree. I mean, non-overdrive, of course, but they did make 4-wheel drives with the 3 on the tree. It's just that overdrive option, I'm not sure if it just didn't come out in 3/4 tons or what. But 57 is a big changeover year. They changed frames, changed bodies, changed all that. That was the A model, where it was the single headlight with the eyebrow signal. So that's when you started seeing more 4-wheel drives, a lot of half tons. And then it started to make that transition where in the 40s and 50s you saw tons of panels and very few windowed Travelalls, and you started seeing more windowed Travelalls and less panels. So a bunch of changes in 57. You got the wraparound back windows, you got the wraparound windshield, you got a third door on the passenger side. So now you went from just the standard 2 front doors to the 2 front doors and the third door on the passenger side. The back window still was clamshell and tailgate or barn door, either one. But you started seeing more colors, more interior options. Now that you have the third door, you saw a different design in the interior layouts. Also had, more engine options, transmission options, that kind of thing. They got longer, they got wider. The roof lines got shorter, but generally they just were growing like all the other automobiles at the time. Again, the Travelall script emblem showed up on the quarter panels and the tailgate. Just beautiful trucks, in my opinion. The 57s are one of the best looking ones out there, in my opinion. Again, 58's the same as the 57s. And then in 59, you got the B series Travelall, which is pretty much the same as the A, except you had 4 headlights instead of 2, with a change in the marker lights. Dash layout was different, more colors, more design changes in that respect. But 4-wheel drive, 2-wheel drives, and now in the 2-wheel drives you had the independent suspension, the IFS torsion bar setup, or the I-beam setup, which a lot of people liked. But other than that, not a lot of changes. Still 3-door, and all that. Now it was 59 and 60 was the 4 headlight B series. Then you got into 61, which is another big change. So you had the whole front of the truck layout was different. The floor pans are different. The doors are different. They all look real similar, but there are subtle differences in them. And so now you have 4 headlights, but they are horizontal instead of vertical. You could get a half-ton 4-wheel drive Travelall, which is the first. You had the introduction of the electric power back window. That was also a big deal. And then, of course, the 4th door was added. So now you had the driver's side rear door. So now you see the introduction of the first 4-door, 4-wheel drive Travelall. And that, is, like I said, 1961. So years before anybody else. And, International really paved the way for those kinds of things. And you started seeing more color options, trim, lots of chrome. I mean, it's the 60s. It's the the pinnacle of automotive chrome and styling. And so it only makes sense that International was on that bandwagon with GM and Ford and everybody else. I wish they'd gotten on the horsepower bandwagon, because I think a Travelall with a few hundred more horsepower would be pretty cool. But no, I mean, you had your V8 options, the 266 and 304, your 4 speeds. Air conditioning was starting to be a thing. It was dealer installed. Didn't come from the factory that way, but you could get dealer installed air conditioning. And so yeah, they were just updating along with everybody else, trying to keep up with the car markets. 63 changed again. Single headlights. dash change. They went to the round gauge style. Interior changes again. Just kind of, I don't know, just kept updating it like everybody else did. And then 65, another change, interior change. The 345 engine became an option. 304 was the standard, I'm sorry, the 6-cylinder 240, 241, that was the base model engine. If you wanted the V8, the 304 was a up model, and that's what everybody was going with. They sold so many V8 Travelalls back then. The 6-cylinders were great. Like, I don't have a problem with them. And it's funny because by 67 they had the 265 6-cylinder, 1 cubic inch smaller than the 266 V8 that they were offering. So I always thought that was kind of funny. They, trying to satisfy both markets with the same displacement. You started seeing 65, I believe the overdrive 5-speed became available. That was a high dollar option, but it introduced the T34 overdrive. There goes the air compressor. T34 overdrive 5-speed to the light car market, which I think was unheard of. I don't think any manufacturer was offering anything like that in 65. Again, I'm not a world-renowned automotive expert. I just know International, but I had never heard of any other make doing that. Maybe Dodge, maybe, but International having the overdrive option was pretty far out, in my opinion. So from 66 to 68, they generally, other than minor changes with like a padded dash, the dash layout was the same, but they added, another brake warning light for, if your parking brake was on or you had a failure. The chrome changed again, styling changed a little bit, but overall, pretty much the same. The grille, you went from the round headlights with the round bezels to the big rectangular style aluminum bezels, and that kind of thing. But generally, the layout is the same. The 4 doors, the clamshell, tailgate, or barn door. The seat, the back seat, I left that part out. And starting in 63, I believe the rear seat became a fold and tumble style rear seat, where you fold the back down and then you could flop it forward. I don't have a 61. Actually, I do have a 61 Travelall out in the yard. I should look at it sometime. It might be a fold-up seat also. I could be wrong about that. But I know for sure by 63 they had fold-up seats. And then, another big change, 69. 69 was a big model year change. They went from the round body to the square body. The rear doors got even bigger. The rear doors are huge, and they open 90 degrees to the body, meaning you can fit large items through that back door opening, which was again another unique feature. You still have the barn door, you still have the tailgate. Now the tailgate was improved with a retention spring set up so that the tailgate, because they're heavy, so the spring was like an assist to keep you from dropping it on yourself. Also rust improvements, because the C-Series has had such terrible rust. The cowl, the floors, the tailgate, all rusted real bad. So the D-Series, the 69s, were improved across the board, and I know everyone's laughing at me because they still rusted like crazy, but the they were just different design, so they thought that they would hold up better. Little did they know it was not designed so much as it was just not putting any paint in those hidden areas. So, yeah, the 69, you of course still full 4-door, the back door setup, but now you had factory installed AC. You had the option of the front low back buckets with the center console. You had the fold up back seat that not only folded forward like the C series, but it actually folded down, so the cargo area got even larger. So in a D series Travelall, you can haul 4x8 sheets of plywood in the bed and still have room at the end. Like, the cargo area on a Travelall with the seat folded up is massive. We've camped out of them. You know, if you followed along for any length of time, you know about Big Connie, the Travelall that we put together that I sold to my friend Colin. There's actually a walk around video here on the channel. If you want to look around through the videos, you'll see the Big Connie video. So, you know, I love the functionality of the Travelall. The other thing too was that these Travelalls were available in the, you know, light duty half ton with the IFS, the standard half ton with the I-beam. Then you had the half ton 4-wheel drive, the 3/4 ton 4-wheel drive, and the 1 ton and even the 1 1/4 ton 4-wheel drives. You also had the introduction of the 392, the automatic transmission, of course, that, you know, they started with the Borg Warners in them in the early 60s. I guess I've jumped that part. And then by 72, they had switched to the Chrysler Torque Flight 727. So, you know, the 5 speeds were more prevalent in the 70s because everybody wanted to go faster. The only way to get there was, you know, if you had 307 axle gears, the thing was a dog on the street, you know, and then if you had 410 axle gears, then it would take off great from the stoplight, but it was terrible on the highway. So that T34 was a big selling point. You know, that kept a lot of them on the highway longer. And fuel economy got better with those overdrives. So you just start seeing more of the D series with those 5 speeds. You know, like I said, the 392 was an option. They phased out the IH 6-cylinders. You could still get an International with the 258 AMC 6-cylinder, which I've had a few of those come through here. So, you know, there were a lot of options. They were just optioning them out like crazy. You know, trim packages from base model, single paint to, you know, chrome and two-tone and the wood grain siding and all the trim. And, you know, they were marketing these things towards everybody they could. Again, you know, mining, exploration, logging crummies, you know, work trucks, whatever. And then, you know, the outdoor recreation market was really exploding then too. You know, a lot of advertisements for camping and how you could haul all, you know, your family and all your gear, and you could tow a travel trailer, and it was better than a station wagon because of 4-wheel drive, and it was a truck chassis and all that stuff. And you know, sure, the power wasn't there. Even the 392 with the 240 horse or whatever the door tag said, I mean, it was really only about 170 at the wheel if you were lucky. And, you know, they didn't have the get up and go that the 440 powered Mopars had, you know, or the 396 Chevys. So it just, you know, they always, International always had that reputation for being slow. And you know, so pulling all that stuff around, they definitely will move the weight, but they're not as nimble or agile as some of the others were with more horsepower, I believe. You know, there is that misconception that Internationals were really heavy, and And you know what? I hear it all the time from guys that say, "Oh, my Travelall weighs 9,500 pounds." You know, it's like, I have scaled dozens and dozens of trucks, Travellettes, you know, 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, Travelalls, half-ton pickups, you know, all that stuff. I've scaled Scouts. I've scaled lots of things to help understand them better. And the heaviest international I ever scaled was a 3/4 ton 4-wheel drive Travelall, and it scaled at 5,900 pounds if you're in America. And my Travelette with the DT 360 and the Allison and the Dana 60 front and the Dana 70 rear and the dualies and the steel flatbed and all that stuff weighs 8,000 pounds with me in it. So I hear these guys that think that their stock Travelalls weigh 8,000 pounds, and it's not true. I don't care. I don't care what you tell me. If you call me out and tell me that I'm full of crap because your peepaw scaled your Travelall one time and it weighed 9,000 pounds empty, like, I don't believe you. I don't. I'm sorry. International sheet metal is 19 gauge, just like every other auto manufacturer's sheet metal. There's nothing different. It's not special. International didn't use 16 gauge sheet metal, or, you know, whatever the wives' tales are. They didn't. So Travelalls are slightly heavier than the pickups because of the full cab, you know, the full roof and tailgate and that kind of thing. But remember, they are shorter, or as short as a short box pickup. So, you know, yeah, you gain some weight with the roof line and the glass, but you lose weight in frame length and body in that respect. So anyway, but back to what I was saying. They were marketing these things as, you know, multi-purpose vehicles, which they were. Like, I've towed travel trailers. I've towed trailers with Travelalls, and it's, you know, when you're set up right, they're not bad to pull with. You know, the short wheelbase is a little bit questionable if you're pulling a long, heavy trailer, but with the good tongue setup and an equalizer hitch, good springs, good tires, it's not a big deal. So, you know, I could see why International was marketing them the way they were. But finally, big jump, 74 and 5. You saw the frame change. You saw the disc brake front axle arrive in half-ton and 3/4 ton. You saw more gearing options, more trim, interior updates, a dash clock if you were so inclined, the lighted dash where the switches and stuff. You saw just more updates. The ABS became available in rear ABS in the half-ton Travelalls and the half-ton pickups. Coil sprung front end for the independent trucks. They got rid of the torsion bar and went to a coil type setup. So, you know, more updates. Like I said, the frames got different. But overall, the look of the Travelall was about the same, other than the grille and hood arrangement. That got a slight change. But you could still use the same fenders from the 70 to 73. Again, minor updates. So not a lot to write home about in that respect. But, you know, I think Travelalls really helped change the market along, like with the Scouts. You know, the Scouts created a market, and the Travelalls, I think, up until 61, 63, you know, they took the Scouts lead in how to design the Travelall to be like a larger version of the Scout, whereas up until the 60s, they were kind of their own animal and didn't have a direction, in my opinion. They were going off of, you know, just focus groups and what people wanted. You know, it wasn't until the Scout came out that they really figured that a sport utility vehicle was the market, and the Travelall just happened to be the big version of that. And you can see it in the advertising, you see it in the marketing, The Scout is the sporty thing. The Travelall is the camping adventure workhorse. And I agree with that. I agree with it 100%. So, if you are on the fence about buying a Travelall, I would consider you do it. They're not getting any cheaper, and they're not getting any easier to find. So, yeah, Travelalls are great. I love them. And it's just, they're the perfect all-around vehicle, in my opinion. And I, have been known to be wrong. But anyway, I think we'll wrap that up. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you for following in. Shout out to my dad. Thanks for watching. And please feel free to donate. And until next time, I'm Dan from Boneyard.